definitely not the team that you want trailing behind you, because just like that, Queasy's gonna give some quick reminders of what he's capable of. But for Misha and Teeny, they've also got to deal with Baka and Pars, and again, such an impressive day so far from Baka and Pars. We've really been seeing them take an aggressive stance and come out on top in numerous situations. And I would expect to be all the same here. And Kanata and Agers, even though Racetrack might have gone their way, running into Yamzo and Rise is a different story altogether, as Agers now forced to bounce, has to leave Kanata to be eliminate collected. And they went from wanting to camp Thomas's reboot card to now Agers potentially having to worry about whether or not they do that. Yamzo and Raz will do the same to Kanata.
Yeah, this is very troublesome for Agers and Kanata, the duo that needs at minimum a top 10 performance here in this game if they're looking to skip Saturday and go directly to our championship. But a fight that we saw start as a 2v2 ends up in a 1v1. Baka gets the piece control away from Teeny, not really letting him get any footing in this ground. The real estate here and that piece control is going to be important. And another shot getting fired. Teeny getting back down little by little. Baka just playing a game of peekaboo. It's working out for him, but everything good comes to an end eventually. And Baka takes a massive shot. The thing here, it doesn't matter where he's at because he goes down. And the only place he's going to be is back to the lobby.
That was a huge shot here for Teeny, but it's not over just yet. Bryce and Chubbs now deciding to join the fray. Teeny gonna look to see if he can find an escape route somehow, or at least an opportunity to get this revive going off onto Misha. And Chubbs, Bryce, they don't seem like they're fully aware just how far back Teeny and Misha actually are. So a successful revive does come through. A 2v2 potential situation here, but again, Misha and Teeny bound to be relatively low on resources after that last engagement.
You got to imagine it to be true. That's Teeny trying to hold the covers, give his teammate some time to try to heal up. First is going to be the med kit. Now it's going to be the shields, and the forecast tower hasn't even been taken yet. That's what they were originally fighting over, and that's probably what drawed and Chubbs over to this direction, but they don't know that he was weak necessarily. So for them, they're just trying to play the game. They're outside of that top 25. They want to give themselves a fighting chance to get towards that championship Sunday and not really fight towards that Saturday. As we tune on to Agers, you can see him just trying to go ahead and bypass everything. But let's go ahead and go and listen. Now it's going to be the shield. The forecast tower hasn't.
I mean, when he gets in, I'll be able to see him and just run. 30-60 on him.
Nice.
I got headshot sniped through the bush. This is so sad, man.
Oof. That is really all that can be said.
That's what they were originally fighting.
In some circumstances, Yamzo is actually just a monster for that one. I mean, and if you're inside of that top 25, well,
they want to give themselves a going to be the med chance to get towards that championship Sunday and not really fight towards
more to deal with
that Saturday.
As
we tune on to Agers, you see him just trying to go ahead and bypass everything. Let's go ahead and go and listen. Now it's going to be the shield. The forecast tower has a lot of these caches will spawn either south towards the east, where a lot of these teams are congested at. Just judging by the lack of the slurp juice, they haven't grabbed theirs just yet. They're hoping to try to beat another team to that punch. And even though they found some dangers there, just a little bit,
that sort of situation, other than just fall victim to Yamza there. But fortunately for Agers and Kanata, they're still going to be able to play things out as a duo. Successful reboot van there for Agers. The health replenish as well. Got a handful of
when he gets in, I'll be able to see him and just run. 30-60 on him.
As
I
the
got
dream is
headshots
still
flying through the
alive
bush.
for Agers and Kanata.
This is so sad, man.
Now at the very least, but sometimes those are the
That
wake-up
is
calls.
really
been
all
taking
that
it.
can be
That's what they
said.
were originally fighting.
In some circumstances,
And while they're facing all that madness on that
is
side of the map,
actually
those
just a
sticking to
monster
what
for
they
that
know
one.
works,
I mean,
which
and
is
if you're in
Inside of
Kanata's
that top
position as
25, they
well,
want to give themselves he's going to be the med kit and get towards that championship Sunday and not really fight toward
deal with
that Saturday.
As
we tune on to Agers, see him just trying to go ahead, bypass everything. So let's go ahead and go and listen now. It's going to be the Shield. The forecast tower has it.
Patches
will spawn either south or the east, where a lot of these teams are congested at. Just judging by the lack of the slurp juice, they haven't grabbed theirs just yet. They're hoping to try to beat another team to that punch. Even though they found some dangers there, just a little bit.
That surge damage threshold. So if Uga and Threats making these dead side rotations, yeah, you might have the best positioning in the world, but it doesn't really mean a
That
whole
sort
lot
of situation,
other than just fall victim to
then you
Yamza
still have
there.
to
But
compromise your
fortunately for
position
Agers and Kanata, they're still going to be able to play things out as a duo. Successful reboot ban there for Agers.
big, but it comes to an end.
The health
yet
replenish as well.
again, and
Got a
things can be
handful.
go.
What do you get then? I'll be able to see him under strong. 30, 60 on him. I got headshots flying through the bush. This is so sad, man.
Now at the very least, but sometimes those are the
That
wake-up
is
calls.
really
Been taking it. That's what they were originally fighting.
some circumstances.
And while they're facing all
Yamzo
that madness on that
is
side of the map,
actually
those
just a
sticking to
monster
what
for
they
that
know
one.
works.
I mean, and if you're in
Inside of that
Kanata's
top
position
25,
as
they
well,
want to give themselves he's going to be the med kit and get towards that championship Sunday and not really fight toward
deal with
that Saturday. As we tune on to Agers, see him just trying to go ahead, bypass everything. So let's go ahead and go and listen now. It's going to be the Shield. The forecast tower has it. Patches will spawn either south or the east, where a lot of these teams are congested at. Just judging by the lack of the slurp juice, they haven't grabbed theirs just yet. They're hoping to try to beat another team to that. They found some danger. They found some dangers there, just a little bit.
that surge damage threshold.
Basically
So
seeing
if
Taylor
Uga
at
and
top
Threats
25, Pink and Pink go down 74. Batman
making these
moving
dead side
rapid.
rotations, yeah, you might have
Points
the
continue
best
to
positioning in
climb,
the
more you
world,
go up.
but it doesn't really mean a
that
whole
sort
lot
of situation,
other than just fall victim to Yamza there. But fortunately for Agers and Kanata, they're still going to be able to play things out as a duo. Successful reboot ban there for Agers.
Big, but it comes to an end.
The health replenish as well. Got a handful.
What do you get then? I'll be able to see him under strong. 30, 60 on him. I got headshots flying through the bush. This is so sad, man.
Very least, but sometimes those are the
That
wake-up
is
calls.
really
Taking it. That's what they were originally fighting.
some circumstances.
And while they're
Yamzo.
facing 4 points.
Sneezy was just so focused
Tunnel
on
vision.
teams that weren't on that Rift Island. He had no clue. But those two
Madness on that side of the map.
actually just a monster for that one. I mean, and if you're
Inside of that top 25, they want to give themselves he's going to be the med kit and get towards that championship Sunday and not really fight toward
deal with
that Saturday. As we tune on to Agers, see him just trying to go ahead, bypass everything. So let's go ahead and go and listen now. It's going to be the Shield. The forecast tower has it. Patches will spawn either south or the east, where a lot of these teams are congested at. Just judging by the lack of the slurp juice, they haven't grabbed theirs just yet. They're hoping to try to beat another team to that. They found some danger. They found some dangers there, just a little bit.
that surge damage threshold. So if Uga and Threats
They go down 74. Batman
making these
moving
dead side
rapid.
rotations, yeah, you might have the best positioning in the world, but it doesn't really mean that sort of situation other than just fall victim to Yamza there. But fortunately for Agers and Kanata, they're still going to be able to play things out as a duo. Successful reboot ban there for Agers.
It comes to an end.
The health replenish as well. Got a handful.
What do you get then? I'll be able to see him under strong. 30, 60 on him. I got headshots flying through the bush. This is so sad, man.
Very least, but sometimes those are the
That is really
Taking it. That's what they were originally fighting.
some circumstances.
And while they're
Yamzo.
4 points.
It just
Sneezy
makes
was just
the
so
rotation all that
focused
easier.
Tunnel
on
vision.
teams
Those
that
are the
weren't
confidence, too,
on
'cause even
that
though they
Rift
went down
Island.
and they
He
got
had
their
no
spot on
clue.
Sunday, Golden Acorn
But those two
there's a long side of the map.
Actually, just a monster for that one. I mean, and if you're
Inside that top 25, they want to give themselves who's going to be the bench chance to get towards that championship Sunday and not really fight toward it.
deal with
Further that Saturday, we tune on to Agers. See him just trying to go ahead and bypass everything. So let's go ahead and go and listen how it's going to be.
Only Cammy and Seti and Ritual and Reed, but again, the point difference so high up. These guys.
The forecast tower housing will spawn to the south or to the east, where a lot of these teams are congested at. Just judging by the lack of the slurp juice, they haven't grabbed theirs just yet. They're hoping to try to beat another team to that. They found some dangers there, just a little bit.
that surge damage threshold. So if you get in threats,
They go down 74. Back
making these depth side rotations, yeah, you might have the best positioning in the world, but it doesn't really mean that sort of situation other than just pulsing them to Yanza there. But fortunately for Agers and Kanata, they're still going to be able to play things out as a duo successful reboot band there.
Own destiny. Fate is in their hands, and they just need to be able to find a
For Agers, the health replenish as well. Got a handful.
36 healing. This is so sad.
That is really
That's what they were originally fighting.
some circumstances. So
That initial 50-50, it might have
Sneezy
been
was just
successful
so
rotation for
focused
easier.
on teams that weren't on that Rift Island. He had no clue.
Hold an acorn.
But those two
There's a long side of the map.
actually just a monster for that one. I mean, and if you're
Inside that top 25, they want to give themselves who's going to be the bench chance to get towards that championship Sunday and not really fight toward it.
deal with
Further that Saturday, we tune on to Agers. See him just trying to go ahead and bypass everything. So let's go ahead and go and listen how it's going to be.
Only Cammy and Seti and Ritual and Reed, but
I
again,
just saw I
the
drop
point
goes
difference
down to
so
ping,
high up.
that's
These guys.
another-
Forecast tower housing will spawn to the south or to the east, where a lot of these teams are congested at. Just judging by the lack of the slurp juice, they haven't grabbed theirs just yet. They're hoping to try to beat another team to that. They found some dangers there, just a little bit.
That surge damage threshold. So if you get in threats,
They go down 74. Back
making these depth side rotations, yeah, you might have the best positioning in the world, but it doesn't really mean that sort of situation other than just pulsing them to Yanza there. But fortunately for Agers and Kanata, they're still going to be able to play things out as a duo successful reboot band there.
They can be the ones controlling the way that the lobby actually
Fate
flows.
is in their hands and get held up. They just need to be able to find a
For Agers, the health replenish as well. Got a handful.
36 healing. This is so sad.
but they're getting focused.
That is really
That's what they were originally fighting.
some circumstances. So
That initial 50-50,
This isn't looking good for now.
they might not have the damage.
Sneezy was just so focused on teams that weren't on that Rift Island. He had no clue.
Hold an acorn.
But those two actually just a monster for that one. I mean, and if you're
Inside that top 25, they want to give themselves who's going to be the bench chance to get towards that championship Sunday.
You can't force to build
Not really fight toward it. Deal with further that Saturday. See him just trying to go ahead and bypass everything. So let's go ahead and go and listen how it's going to be.
eliminated Cammy and Seti and Ritual Reed,
I
but again,
just saw I
the
drop
point
goes
difference
down to
so
ping,
high up. These guys.
Forecast tower housing will spawn to the south or to the east, where a lot of these teams are congested at. Just judging by the lack of the slurp juice, they haven't grabbed theirs just yet. They're hoping to try to beat another team.
Well, it's just Kanata this time around, but if
They found some dangers there, just a little bit.
That surge damage threshold. So if you get in threats,
They go down 74. Back
making these depth side rotations, yeah, you might have the best positioning in the world, but it doesn't really mean that sort of situation other than just
damage threshold when it comes to Storm Surge.
A nice little gift though, just on the ground, managed to pick up some materials. It's going to provide him more than the 4 builds he had initially to work with. Shot him up to 30, but still, Kanata also now with this Icy Breacher in tow, breaking through the floors of some of these builds and just hoping that there is not a full team on the other side of it, because you're looking at a 1v1 with Kanata, decent chance, but 2 versus 1 situations is tough for any player to deal with.
There are more teams left alive right now that are outside of the top 25 trying to earn their spot than there is inside of the top 25. But placement points haven't even begun to kick in yet. That puts a lot of pressure on the King. He's already survived Storm Surge once. He has the Slurp Juice, he has a couple minis, but he's still 123 below. He's not even peeking out going for shots. He's just trying to survive it. But if he looks down low, there's a bit of loot. I thought I saw the tip of a big pot down there as well, which will be crucial for his survival. He finally looks down. There's a med mist as well. He found a treasure trove and a miracle to keep himself alive. But he knows he needs to go. He knows he needs to continue moving forward, get towards the zone. You don't want to fall behind, but a nice shot from the backside. King forced to stabilize himself, stop the rotation. So that means a lot of teams are going to be able to hop over him and get to zone first.
Again, right now, it seems the King, he's trying to prioritize positioning, just hoping that some other team, some other solo gets eliminated first, and that could potentially put him to where he actually isn't below that surge threshold. But Kanata right now, just barely clinging on, but it won't be enough. Finally finds himself eliminated from the lobby. Unfortunate run there for Kanata and Aegis in our final game of the day.
Yeah, at least he got this experience of playing on the big stage, because he's going to have to go again tomorrow against our last chance major teams. Zaxidus and his teammate have the high ground. They started this game on the bubble. You got to imagine they've been climbing up that ladder, just like Bugha and Threats. You talked about it yourself. You even casted it throughout the day. They have yet to play a solid game as a duo. This is their chance. But the solos trying to push back both Alex and Worthy as well. A lot of damage being done here by Storm Surge, not even these players.
We're seeing so many teams, though, struggling with Storm Surge, but for Bugha and Threats, they were over 800 damage above. They can focus entirely on how they choose to actually tarp through some of these congested layers, and right now, Miro, forced into a solo position, won't have any sort of time to try and help out Cooper in the process. We are simply too deep into these moving zones at this point, as now Miro finds himself in a decent amount of pressure, a couple of slash flashes, all of his slash flashes actually going to be expended here. As Miro trying to see if he can find an opening from the backside of the zone. Nutty from the side though. Wow. Clean shot onto 7-man, and a quick build up to utilize his med kit.
Just quick moving, quick reacting, but not quick enough. That's Cowgamer and 7-man. A big game's needed from them. They could boost themselves into that top 25 as well. Bugha and Threats, 5 eliminations so far, peeking down low, trying to recycle some of these builds because they know they don't got much left. A refresh or a siphon match, anything is what they're looking for. And they even split it between them two, so it's even less for an individual. They fall on top of Alex. Can they get that elimination? Can they get the siphon? Yes, they can, off the back of Threats, who gets a double elimination and push themselves into the top 10.
Just barely there. No, Bugha actually going to find himself trapped just outside. He won't be able to make it in time. And the knock from that surge damage, that's so tough that the Storm is going to be his ultimate competitor. But Threats still up. Threats still trying to move forward. Doesn't have much left in the med mist though. Needs to find a refresh at this point.
It's almost 100% necessary, but these points that he's grabbing here, staying alive, 7 eliminations as well. This could be enough, but it's definitely going to be a buzzer beater if I've ever seen one myself, and he's continuing to bypass everybody. But on the high ground, it's Yamzo and Rise that are trying to take this last and final game of the day. A few teams actually that are stuck down low still need this shot to try to qualify. Misha and Teen is one of them. Chulex and Chicho, they probably already got their spot, but Threats does it yet again. Another elimination, trying to go ahead and keep him and Bugha's dream alive.
But for Threats, he didn't find any sort of white heals, which he needed. Granted, it might not be necessary. Almost found the closing shot there onto Rise, but with the Yamzo there to back him up, it's no problem whatsoever. And we are seeing one of NA's finest with a victory royale for the day close.
I call them one of the most dangerous teams coming into the Global Championship. It may have taken them some time to heat up, but they have finally won the game. And I want to go ahead and hear exactly what they have to say, so I'm going to throw it over to Frankie to let us know how they're feeling in this moment.
I'm between the Danger duo, and what a day it's been for the two of you. A spot in Sunday's grand final was inevitable, but how did you ramp things up for the victory royale at the end of today?
It was a rough first few games. We had 2 0-pointers back-to-back, so said we wouldn't last, and he had, I think, 3 headshot snipes this game, so it set us up in the beginning of the game and got the win.
And you are currently in 4th place. So you say you've had a tough day, but you've had incredible performance. For you, Rise, what's it been like getting to compete with so many people here?
It's been awesome. It's my first LAN, and I'm just excited to be here.
It's your first LAN. That's incredible because you're taking to it like a duck to water. Let me ask you about this year and getting ready for LAN, because we know the two of you love to go for eliminations, but you've had to find consistency and stability to make it to the end games, and now you make it look successful. What do you think was the key to making that change?
To be honest, we've just been playing the whole year, and we just kept the same play style.
Yeah. And for the two of you now, how are you finding the pressure of being on LAN? Is it affecting the comms in any way?
I think the first game we were a little nervous, of course, both our first LANs, but after game 1, it went away, and it feels good to be playing an international stage, so.
Do you think you could get used to being on LAN? Do you feel like this is your favorite place to be now?
Yeah, I just have to get used to it, and once you get used to it, it's kind of easy.
You make it look easy, I'm not going to lie, but I know it's definitely not. Iomzo, Rise, congratulations. We'll see you on Sunday, and we'll see the guys on the desk right now, I think.
Thank you so much. This is a unicorn duo. This is a rare type of duo, okay? I'm talking you're bringing together 2 people who are unique in gameplay, in skill set, in hair color. These guys have it all. The Victory Royale, especially here in championship first day, global championship first day, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll be honest, I feel like they were a little quiet throughout the day. I wasn't really keeping a close eye on Iomzo and Rise, but of course, last game of the day, they're gonna be like, hey, by the way, guys, like, we're one of the best teams here, by the way.
Yeah, 100%, man. The Ginger Giants, hey? These guys, look, you said a bit quiet. I had seen them sort of within almost every end game, right, towards the back end, right? You said, you know, he had the double 0-point games or whatnot, but then the rest of it was very consistent, exactly what you expect to see from Iomzo and Rise. They're one of the teams I love the most from NA, right? Because tactically, they are sound, right? They are as good tactically as any other team in the world. And when they are feeling confident, when they are in their rhythm, they are so good, and they showed it there in that last game.
Iomzo's always been one of those guys, right, that is just ridiculously confident. And it's not in like a cocky way, it's just he knows what he can do.
He's good.
And now they're like, hey, look, kind of what he's saying, once we figured it out, it's easy. It's not necessarily easy. They are just that good.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to point out the fact that, you know, they mentioned that, yeah, sure, the first game we were a little bit nervous. And a lot of the times we talk about experience being that, oh, they've been to these in-person events before. And that's why some of those players that have that experience come in and they're sort of ready. But the fact that they were able to adapt and get comfortable in just a short amount of time, right? We only played 5 games today, and they were talking like they were very, very comfortable towards the end of it. So that is impressive in its own right.
But that comes with having a game plan, right? And that's the difference between them and a lot of other teams, just in compared to Fortnite in general, is these guys come ready. And when you have a game plan that you can trust, you just have to be confident, right? Because you know you follow that game plan, it's going to take you far, and that's exactly what these guys can do.
Absolutely. Let's do this. Let's take a look at our standings. Remember, we want to end the day in top 25 to go straight on through to Sunday. Real quick, Vivid, I am not good at reading. What's that? What is that? What do you say? What's the name up there in the first place?
Hey, Livin, let's state the facts here, right? I'm a little short. Have a little trouble with the top shelf sometimes.
Okay.
Can you go ahead and read out first place for me, all the way up there,
guys.
all the way up there?
All right.
Who's
so
that?
In first place, you have Agent Cold and Dig Acorn. They have been phenomenal. Yes, 325 points. First place.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got them. Now, what's crazy to me, let's talk about the overall of this top 10, right? I would have expected a lot more EU names in general, but that's not the case. Now, we have some high-profile ones in there, Queasy, Venos, Seti, and Cammy. But still, NA deciding to show up on day one.
Yeah, NA had a very good day. I'm very, very proud of everybody. I think Acorn and Cole definitely proved that low ground is pretty much theirs, especially when it comes to finding the eliminations, when it comes to finding the great rotations that they actually do through some of those mid games. Some of them they just weren't even building. So shout out to Acorn for making some of those calls. And obviously, Cole, he'll always find you an elimination.
100%, right? And even similar for Yomza and Rise towards the back end of them games, right? There were a couple of those games, I think it was game 3. You saw them trying to look up for height, and they were ready, they wanted to go for it. Squeezing Venom up there, started spraying them. But when you're an IGO as good as Rise is, you're not concerned about it. Like, cool, you can't play for height. I'll just play mid ground and low ground just as well. And that's exactly what they've done today.
You'd love to see it. Now, our next question obviously has to be, who's going through? We know the top 25 will be moving on to Sunday. Let's take a look at a list of the 25 players that have qualified. A couple of names, let's just call them out. Obviously, we saw some of the big ones. I wanted to quickly highlight Zagu right here and Peppo-Clip. Obviously, we saw them back in the days of Invitational. For them, though, back then, day 2 didn't quite hit as hard. But now, making it through to Sunday, they have time to prepare. And hopefully, they'll bring some heat.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited to actually see what they bring on day number 3. We also saw some very cool strategies from them throughout the day. You know, farming some of that surge. Very, very cool from them. But talking about some of the smaller regions, I mean, Alex and Worthy, 6th place from the OCE region. Very impressive.
Alex is one of my favorite players to watch. Such an electric player, so entertaining. At any given moment, this guy can turn it on and just absolutely storm and roll for anyone. Worthy as well. When I spoke to them, they said they were struggling a bit, right? It's a 25-hour flight for them, right, to get over here. And they said, yeah, we're feeling a bit tired, but, you know, give us some good sleep and we'll be able to get into our lobby and show you what we can do. And that's what they're doing here today.
So now that we've kind of concluded the first 5 games, how are you guys feeling about the competition? Obviously, it's pretty evident there's a lot of duos that are still holding some things back, right? Whether that be they held them back and now they're going to lower bracket, or they're in the top 25. They can hold them till Sunday. Did day 1 meet your expectations, Vivid?
Yeah, I feel like so. And again, I want to kind of bring up the regional aspect of the global championship. Going actually into finals from the upper bracket, we have 12 EU teams, 8 NA teams, 2 Asia teams, and then 1 each for Middle East, Asia, or not Asia, Brazil, and OCE. So pretty rounded out, right? Regional representation from every single one of those going into the finals from the upper bracket.
Yeah, someone from everywhere stepped up, seemingly, and I think that's what you sort of would have expected. I think we always come into these competitions and think, you know, we sort of stack the biggest names up there and think, oh, this team's going to call, that team's going to call. There's always going to be some form of disappointment, and I think there will be some teams that thought, you know what, this hasn't been the best day for us. Yeah, we have the lower bracket, but we wanted to get it done in the upper. But even with that being said, I think I've definitely seen what I expected to see from a lot of the better teams, the better players, the big names, the fan favorites, of course. Even from what we've seen from the crowd here today, when they were more in there, a lot of people gone to the toilet, it seems. But when they were here, right, the noise was crazy. So I think all in all, man, the players who will be playing tomorrow definitely have to come in and maybe adjust some things. But it's been a great day.
For sure. Let's take a look at some of those players. We'll start kind of on the bubble. And this final game was a fight for that top 25 spot. Ultimately, it was iDrop and Mappy that do make it through to the grand finals on Sunday. But take a look at some of these names here down to 34th that are going to be we'll be seeing go tomorrow. Fahad actually for one moment, overtook the 25th spot, and it looked like it was going to be locked in, but just barely falling short. A single point making the difference.
How do we have 2 teams, a single point behind 25th there? In that 33rd spot, I saw Pink and Vika. I want to talk about them very, very quickly because I'm expecting that they will have the opportunity to be uncontested in the lower bracket tomorrow. So I'm assuming it'll be a little bit better of a day for them.
Yeah, 100%, right? They're more accustomed to sort of dealing with that situation where they will have access to all the loot, right? And all that space in that area. But of course, if you're any of these teams, they will be feeling a bit disappointed. You have to be able to just mentally reset, come back into tomorrow. I think the big thing is, it's obviously going to be a very different lobby tomorrow. We have a whole new set of teams coming in. A bunch of players who may have been contested today, uncontested, like in the case of Pink and Vico. Some players who maybe were uncontested today might be contested tomorrow, right? So it's like, you know, you're almost coming into not a whole different tournament, but it's going to feel that way in the lobby at times.
Is there more pressure going into tomorrow? Obviously, the 25 in the lower bracket have been watching. They've been learning. They've been trying to figure things out. players that have gone from today now to the lower bracket. Is that more pressure? Is it maybe like, okay, I'm warmed up, so let me just kind of change a couple things and we're good?
I think from a format-wise, it has to be more pressure, right? Like, it just has to be. But more games, right? 5 games under their belt now on the international stage. They got to be feeling a little bit more comfortable when it comes to the setups, the crowd, and the lights.
Yeah, I think there'll be more pressure because, of course, these teams were expected to go through. They were the upper bracket teams, right? A lot of the lower bracket teams, some of those guys don't have that LAN experience. But for the teams who didn't quite do it today, in your head, you're thinking, oh, top 25, that's pretty easy. I can get that. You didn't, right? So now you're almost second-guessing yourself. It's not easy to get top 25.
Yeah, this is, I mean, what? 75 of the best duos in the world, right? This was going to be a difficult task. Some duos took full advantage. I'm looking at you guys in EU. You know who you are. Crazy Vano, Sandy Cammy. But still, we have to keep focused, right? We cannot skip a beat. Now, we're going to take a little break here because Kelly is standing by in the Creator Lounge with none other than Peach Cobbler.
That is right, Zeke. Peach Cobbler here joining me. Thank you so much. Day 1 is now over. How has it been for you?
Oh my gosh, it's been absolutely amazing. It's kind of like just a big teaser for what's to come.
Oh, yeah. I mean, tomorrow, speaking of what's to come, we have the lower bracket now joining the bottom 25 teams here. Is there any team coming into tomorrow that we haven't seen today that you're excited for?
Oh my gosh, definitely Clicks and Epic Whale. Some of my favorites for a long time now.
Oh, yeah. You were actually just telling me before we went live that you've been going to Fortnite tournaments since the World Cup. What has that been like watching Fortnite grow and evolve?
It's honestly been such a blessing. Like, I feel like each year Epic just steps it up one level after the next. And it got me hooked on seeing the live events. Like, being here is nothing like being at home.
And speaking of Epic Will, you were actually sitting behind the parents. What is it like to see, just these emotional moments and the people that are so passionate, just like yourself?
Oh my gough, it definitely passes on like through you. Like, they were crying, I started crying. I was like, I didn't even know who Epic was at the time, but just to see that passion from the parents supporting and then like watching him compete the way that he did was just beautiful.
Oh, and we got to watch some incredible competition today. Was there any surprises for you?
Oh my gosh, I feel like Fortnite in general is just full of surprises. Like the loot pool or what people land on. A lot of the 50-50s had me like jaw-dropping shocked, and it was just exciting to see Kanata go against Malabuka and Thomas, and just like it was amazing. Very hype.
I know. I can't believe that it's already over. I just want more, and we'll get more tomorrow. But Peach Cobbler, thank you so much for joining me here in the Creator Lounge. Where can people find you online?
It's the Peach Cobbler. Anyway, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you again. And guys, I believe we're heading back to you, Zeke.
You are. Hi. Thanks again to Peach Cobbler for hanging out and all of our creators that stopped by. We do truly appreciate that. We have to set expectations going into tomorrow. We don't want to get too kind of deep into it because we'll have all day tomorrow to break all of it down. But now that we know which duos will be moving to tomorrow, I kind of wanted to kind of get your thoughts. Are there duos in the lower bracket as we take a look at this list? Just give me one from each of you, just a little taste, a little more.
Mr. Savage and Verdeel,
Okay.
It has to be, right? Mr. Savage, all the fans in the world, clearly, right? Everybody loves Mr. Savage, and of course the same for Verdeel. All the pressure's going to be on them to perform for their fans, and I think they'll deliver.
Hey, Levin, we were hanging out a little bit with some of the fans, and as they were walking around, I believe I heard this multiple times, quote unquote, Clicks is going to win. So I'm sure the arena will be absolutely crazy tomorrow seeing him compete, so I'll be excited for that as well.
I've got to round this out. Agers and Kanata, right? Having this crazy 50-50 off spawn today didn't work out, but that's okay. This is Agers, this is Kanata. They are FNCS champions for a reason. I will put my faith in that hat, of course. As we begin to wrap things up, how did you feel about the day?
Absolutely awesome. I think everybody crushed it out there. It was pretty much exactly what we were hoping for out of an upper bracket, right? I feel like we saw a lot of strategies actually come out, and then some others, it looked like towards the back end of the day, a lot of those top end teams kind of decided to kind of pull it back a little bit, right? And relax. So that means that they're not really putting everything out there, which means that they'll be ready for finals.
Yeah, 100%. I think everything in the server's been unbelievable. What you'd expect. The crowd has been amazing. I think for me personally, seeing Zeke, sort of on the stage for the stage, you feel right, the lights go down, everyone's cheering. He looked like the coldest man in all of Denmark in that moment, man. He just looked way too cool. I think more of that from you, Zeke, and I'd be happy.
Okay, anyway, as we start prepping for tomorrow, why don't we send it up to the cast to get their thoughts on the day?
thoughts. I have so many of these thoughts from watching the first 3 games in the crowd, this amazing crowd that's been so great all day long, to casting these final 2. All I really got to say, Taco, is for those 25 teams that are playing again tomorrow, look at it as glass half full. You have another opportunity to make your dreams come true. Just don't take it lightly.
Look, the lower bracket was already looking pretty spicy as is, so seeing some of the teams that are going to be joining them after today's competition, it is going to be insane for tomorrow's lower bracket matches. And one of my favorite parts personally about today was being up here in the commentary booth the entire time and just hearing the moments of cheering, the crowd chants. I cannot wait to see what some of these fans bring for us tomorrow in the lower bracket match, because you have to expect that is the last opportunity. You either make it through in the top 25 of our lower bracket tomorrow, well, that's it. You're going home. You're not going to see what the Global Championship finals lobby is going to consist of on Sunday.
Yeah, this is something that I think we've been waiting for such a long time. 5 more games in the lower bracket, but that's going to do it for myself and the best Taco. Back to my best friends on the stage.
Whoa, Jacob, I am your best friend. Okay, that was Jacob PR, that was the best Taco, and can't forget Monster D-Face as well for calling some of the shots for us today. But that is it. Now we set our eyes on tomorrow. The lower bracket kicks off same time, same great place. We'll have so much to talk about tomorrow, so make sure you do not miss it. Don't forget as well, grand finals on Sunday. Global champions will be crowned. Thank you so much for watching Fortnite fam. As always, we love you. Keep yourself safe, and we'll see you on that battle bus. Beep, beep.
Peace.